What's up, YouTubers? Check it out. I've done a little bit of reorganizing, etc. And check it out also. This is where I do my electrical testing. Ignore the floor, please. I've been sweeping up, and that's just where my pile wound up. Come on, focus, dang it. Here we go. I do electrical testing on this bench here. I stained it, and I was gonna polyurethane it, and I realized this stuff is good for 2300 volts. If you look right there, if it'll focus. Come on, there it goes. Right here, it says up to 2300 volts per mil. And that's not millimeter, that's mils. Like when you see a 4 mil trash bag, or this here's probably 3 mils, 4 mils, somewhere in there. It's a measurement of extreme thinness, if you will. Anyway, so long story short, I got to thinking about it, and I said, what the hell, I test electrical stuff here. Occasionally I get zapped. Sometimes I do live, live testing that I unhook wires and hook wires back up while the power's on. So it made perfect sense to me to coat this in that insulation varnish. And I used some Minwax Golden Oak, but I think it turned out really, really well. I used 3 coats of that, and I knew I was going to do something with it, so I didn't come all the way down with my paint, because I didn't want to get the tape residue on the wood. So that's still yet to be done. I mean, that right there is as far west as I went. But that's going to be the new color scheme, which I'm connected to my charger right now, which you can actually see in there. That room's actually done. Basically, I mean, I've got to do that little area. I mean, I've got to remove all that stuff. And I want to do all the way around there. Because I'm eventually going to, I'm getting tangled up in my cord here. Because I eventually want to build a new building, and I will build a new building. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I really don't want to put a lot of time and effort into it. So about where that Panama is about as far as I want to go down this way. Because you can't really see the wall through there. But I am going to undo that crap. I mean, I did paint over the switch and other wires, etc. But that's just to make them blend in. Because I did kind of ghetto rig it. I kind of concealed the wires with those 2 boxes. By the way, I got this the other day, and it is absolutely freaking mint. It's a 92 great room, and it's just awesome. This one here is supposed to go to David Hawley eventually, or eBay. I'm not sure which. It has an issue where it'll be running and it just randomly goes boom. And the funny thing is that it doesn't trip the breaker. It doesn't stop running. It just goes poof. And sparks fall out of the switch housing. And it just keeps right on going. It first was happening on medium, but now it's happening on all 3 speeds. And it just runs for 10 or 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, pow! And sparks fly. I freaking pulled the wires out of there and pulled them back up through the top of the motor. I couldn't find any chafe spots, so I put them back down in there, and it still continues to do it. I've taken it apart. I'm beginning to wonder if one of the resistors isn't flashing over internally to ground. And that could be causing it, but you would think that would trip my breaker if it was. Who knows? Anyway. So yeah, like I said, I've done some updates here. Reinstalled that thing, the 1930s original. I have several Fascos here, just 3 of them really, 4 or 5, whatever. Some Casablancas. And check it out. This is the first ever fan that I've gotten from my signs at the road that's like, I'm starting to put signs everywhere actually. I've got a couple in Durham now and a couple in Raleigh, in the nicer neighborhoods. Ceiling fans repaired, blah blah blah, and that's the first fan that I've gotten so far. It needs a flywheel because that one is uberly toast and it needs some general repair. I think it also needs bearings if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it needs bearings. It was mounted in a sunroom and it's kind of done. But for $75, they're going to get a new flywheel and some polishing done to the fan. I don't have the blades to it. It's a parts Zephyr. It's a Meridian. Brass and copper Panama. Delta 2. Pasco Charleston. 3rd gen. A San Marino Casablanca. Homestead 4 winds, which is the same thing as a Whisper Fan 3, just with a 4-speed control. And that one I pulled out of the dumpster. I have another housing that I'm going to put with it. Or, alternatively, since the switch housing is kind of foobarred too, I'm going to take the internals, everything out of that one, and put it on another one that I have that's variable speed. You know what that is. That's the Emerson CF24. And I am totally saddened to report that a couple of weeks ago, I was in here working. I had it on. And I was actually literally getting ready to make a video of it. I mean, literally had the phone in my hand. And just all of a sudden, something happened either within the control or in the motor, and it took off like hell. The lights dimmed, and then it dropped a spark out of one spot in the motor, out of one coil, and it hasn't done anything since. Something opened up in the motor. I don't know if the control is what caused it, or if it shorted the ground and the excess current caused it to accelerate like it did. I mean, it fucking took off, pardon my French. I mean, every time I've started it, it takes it about 45 seconds to get up to speed. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was looking at. It takes about 45 seconds to get up to speed. This thing was only spinning about 60 RPM, and it was doing 200 RPM in about a second and a half. I mean, it scared the shit out of me. It literally did. Before I could reach over and turn off the control, which is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right in there. See the little switch there? It's beside that. Anyway, before I could turn off the control, pow, it popped. And out it went. And it's been dark ever since. I can't show you what's in there because as soon as I unplug my phone, the battery's going to die. However, I have an antique brass Fasco Charleston mounted in there now. That's my original hoard. You got a few more there that kind of were hanging up, but I had to get this hung. Got a few more here. Got a couple more there. Actually, 3 more. There's like 8 along that shelf there, and there's a couple of junker ones down in this area. Then I've got 4 or 5 outside that are really junk. Other than that, that's my updates. I run this thing pretty much every time I'm out here. It was an In the Wild R36. If I recall correctly, it came in at Habitat. The blade brackets promptly broke off when I tried turning it on the first time. I don't know what the hell was up with that, but basically what happened was is I wired it up, pulled the pull chain, and as it wound up to full speed, one of the blades flew off. And at that time, this whole area here was clear, and when it flew across, hit the ceiling, and wedged itself in between the ceiling and that little board, the little 1x4 there. And before I could cut it off, 2 more blade brackets flew off. And those were metal blades. So, I mean, I lucked out on that. I could have gotten hurt. I still have the blades down there with the broken blade brackets. Eventually, I will get to it. But as with everything around here, it remains to be seen when I'll get to it. Hell, I've been trying to do that for 3 years. I just haven't had the time. I just cut it off a few minutes ago. I mean, it's all nice and warm. They usually don't. They usually take a few minutes to warm up before they get up to top speed because they have very little starting torque. Anyway, everybody, that's all I have. I do have one more point to make. I'm sure you see the white box up there. The guy who had me build him an R52 and a Westinghouse Sidewinder, which I neglected to make a completed video of that fan. I don't know why I didn't do it because it ran so beautifully. I actually think that I did do a video, but I think I lost it. I have another one of his fans that I don't know if you can see it. It's behind the Vic. It's the copper C17 behind the brass fan, and directly to the left of the little white fan, which I believe is going to wind up being a parts fan, the white fan that is. The shaft is pushed up into the motor, and the switch housing is bent. It's kind of locked up. C17 is leaking to ground, and by that I mean that the inside insulation, or somewhere inside of one of the coils, or somewhere between a coil and another coil, there's a wire touching bare metal. It's not affecting the fan and how it runs at this point, but it's still leaking like 47 volts to ground. Unlike that thing, when it went, that was whatever happened with it. If it went to ground, it went majorly to ground. I mean, and it took off like hell. But the C17, it's a possibility that it can be fixed. Rather than rewind it, because of how common a C17 / R52 is, they all use the same winding. I would probably switch out the winding / stator before I had it rewound. I have another C17 that I've had since I was a kid that actually burned out on me that I eventually plan on practicing how to do winding on. But look at this shop. This building is only 12 by 30 or so. I'm lucky to have the amount of stuff that I have in it now. I can forget about trying to get a winding machine in here. And as much as I would love to wind motors, and I really would love to, and I have the skills to do it. It's just that I don't have the space. because my father passed away when I was 13, and this was his building, and I have his stuff in here, and I have my stuff. I keep accumulating stuff. I'm just like he was. I cannot pass down a good deal on an original, and that's mostly because I can sell them for $200 plus usually. I mean everything in the shelves over there except for okay the on the left shelf, the top side on top of the stereo, that's 36-inch original blades. First and second and third shelves are all Hunter original blades with a few exceptions on the third shelf. Bottom shelf is Fasco. On the right side, the top is mostly Hunter original. Second shelf is a mixture of Antique, Casablanca, and Homestead. Third is Casablanca and Fasco, and most of it's new in box. Because if you look, you can see there's boxes. And then there's two more shelves below that just have random stuff on it.